Today I went to the Friends Auto shop and they given me the Ontario Division of Safety Standard certificate. I add on to my Uber site. Anyone can come and see. Anyone want to share this video?
So basically I have to check all your fluids, make sure your coolant is all level, make sure your oil is level and not too dirty and not too low. Perfect, nice and clean, level is perfect. Check every other fluid you have, like your brake fluid, make sure it's not empty, it's low, so I do have to check your brakes anyway. It's not too low actually, it's right in the middle. Filter, make sure nothing's blocking your air filter. Oh, that looks good. And as long as nothing is leaking and there's nothing sticking out or any cables disconnected, it should be good underneath your hood. All good, everything's perfect. Now we move on to the rest of it. Basically the first step is to take a picture of the front of your vehicle and then I gotta put in your license information. Make sure your license plate is visible. And then enter your license plate. I take a picture of the front of the vehicle, I put in the VIN number and other information, and then I continue. Next picture is optional. If your vehicle has any damage or anything, I have to take pictures around of it, up to 5 photos. I normally don't do it if the car doesn't have any problems. So basically, next step is we check your compliance photo, which includes information such as your VIN number and your weight of your vehicle. It's located inside of the door of most vehicles. It's basically located either on the side of the door or an actual panel of the vehicle. You just have to take a photo of it, make sure all the numbers are visible, including your VIN number and your weight of the vehicle. Manually have to enter your VIN number, or you can scan the barcode that's located on the same sticker. Yeah, perfect. It puts in your VIN number, and then you continue, and it goes into the next step, which tells you to scan your vehicle. 2,230 kilograms. Now I have to take a photo of your odometer. Basically show your kilometers that you've driven so far. Okay. Make sure all the numbers are visible. Put in your odometer reading. So how many kilometers you've driven so far. Once that's finished, you got to put in the OBD scanner and scan the vehicle, which is usually located underneath the driver's side. Right here, make sure the lights are flashing. And then move on to the tablet again, continue it. Make sure it's connected. Make sure the light's illuminated. Sometimes you have to do this step 2 times. Once it's done. So basically when you scan your vehicle has to be in the on position, but it can't be on. So keep that in mind. So you make sure that the tire pressure gauge is visible and it shows you exactly how much tire pressure is on each side. This is what it was now. This one was 35 before and it is still 35, so this is perfect. And you do the first step, you take off the valve cover, you put on your tire gauge, and this one reads 35 exactly, so you don't need to add anything or remove anything. So this one you put in the measurements is 35 before and 35 current. Take a photo. Make sure it's visible in the photo. Cover on, and you have to repeat this step for all 4 tires. So, another step you have to do for safety, you have to check all the headlights, make sure they're all working. High beam, low beam, signal left, right. All right, all of them are working on this vehicle. You have to check the rear lights as well. Brake light, reverse light, signal left and right. So this vehicle, the 3 brake lights, the middle one and the 2 left ones are working. The left and right one are working. The reverse light is also working. They're both working. The signal left and right is also working. So this vehicle, all of the lights are working. It's perfect. You also have to check the emergency brake, which we checked beforehand. It's electronic. So this vehicle is all good. One last step, you do also have to check your wiper blades, make sure they clean properly and it's not giving any lines or any problems cleaning. This one works perfectly as well, as you can see. And the rear and on the front, you also have to check your two wiper blades. So you spray some water to make sure that it cleans properly. Perfect. And everything is good on this vehicle. Basically, you also have to check your seat belts, make sure all four pull in and can lock properly and none of the locks are damaged. Make sure that your seats don't have any problems getting stuck. Make sure your doors open and close correctly and there's no problems with the locks or anything. So, and also your windows, you have to make sure they can all go up and down. On this vehicle, they all work correctly. This vehicle is brand new, it's a 2023, so there's no problems. We check it anyway. After you make sure all the components that are for your safety inside the vehicle are correctly done and everything is checked, then you can pass the safety. So, you also have to check the inside of the vehicle for safety, including your seat belts. Make sure all four, including if it has 4 seats, 5 seats, make sure all of them work correctly. They all pull in and they all lock correctly. And then once you're done checking all your seat belts, you have to check all your door locks. Make sure all the door locks are properly open and closed, and they can open and close manually as well in case of an emergency. You also have to check the windows. Make sure all windows can go up and down, all the front and the back. And once you're sure everything is working correctly in the vehicle, you can pass those components. And you also have to check your emergency brake once you're inside of it as well. This one works properly. It's an electronic parking brake. If it's manual, obviously you have to check it manually as well. Pull it down, make sure it gets stuck when it drives, and also take it up, make sure it gets stuck when you want to move the tire left and right. It doesn't move. And once you're done checking all these components, you move on to the outside of the vehicle. So basically, for the suspension, you have to check your front suspension mainly and your rear suspension. What I usually do is linkages. They're located right here. Push them up and down, make sure there's no movement and no noise. I check your lower control arm, make sure nothing is moving. Put my weight on it, up and down. As long as it's not moving, it's good. Your inner outer tire rod would be moving if I moved your tire left and right. If it's loose, it's not loose, it's perfect. And your brakes I have to check as well, but I check those after I take the tires off. And then once I do that, I come to the back. I check your back as well, make sure all the control arms and everything are connected and they're not like, the bushings are not loose or anything and there's no problems with them. And I also check your rear linkages, make sure those are not moving in any way. And once I'm done checking everything and done checking your suspension, making sure there's nothing broken or anything that's too rusted or damaged, I can put you as a quick pass. Also make sure you check the sway bar bushings on the front and the back. And once everything is checked, you can move on to the next step. Basically, you have to take out all 4 tires. To be able to take measurements of your pads and your rotors properly. So this would be your inner pad, this would be your outer pad. We take measurements of each one. We also take measurements of your rotor. Same with this side, same with the back. So if your rear brakes are drums, which is common on a lot of vehicles, it would be a different step. You would have to open the entire drum brake and take pictures and measurements of your emergency brake line. So emergency brake pad. And you would also have to take measurements of the inside of your drum to make sure the inside is not too worn out or too rusted. Same with this side, the inner and the outer pads need measurements and your rotors need measurements. And the back is the exact same. You have to release the emergency brake before you do it. This one is engaged right now, so I have to bring it down. Let me see.
Oh, yeah.
Just gotta release the emergency brake. Basically, you just open the rear calipers as well, same process. There's the front. So basically, next step is we take measurements of each one of your pads on each side. So we put the two pads together, the inner and outer, and then we also take a measurement of one of them and we take a picture of it. So for example, this one is the passenger side. On the front, we take a photo. And then we manually put in the measurements as well. So 8 millimeters for this one. Put the two pads together. Sometimes you need to take a few photos to make sure it's visible. Again, manually put in the measurements, 8 millimeters, and then we move on to the back. So now we moved on to the rear. This is the rear passenger side. We're taking measurements as well. Put them together again, put a measurement on it, take a photo. Same process. Take a photo of the measurements and put it in there. That's a special machine to measure the exact millimeters of your rotor length. Sorry, rotor size. And for this one, it's 27.97. So we put that on and we take a measurement photo. Make sure everything is visible, including the machine and the rotor. You input the measurements, so 27.97 for this side. Oh, sorry, this is the passenger side. So we start with the driver's side. Now we move. So now we take the measurement for the passenger side. That's perfect. And after you've taken all four sides and you put in the exact measurements, you have to click yes if it is up to OEM specifications, which all four were. And put in the measurements of 11.81. And once all the measurements and everything is inputted, you can continue to the next step. The rotor pads are finished, and you can move on to the tires.
Okay.
Basically, we just got to put back the pads and the rotors. The rotors, actually, no, you tighten all four. Sometimes you may have to open more than one on each one. You may have to open both, but this one you only have to open. And once the brakes and everything are sized and taken pictures of, and you send everything up to the ministry, you got to do the air pressure as well. So you just put on your machine, make sure it's 35. If it is, you just take a photo of it with your machine. The ministry gives you. Make sure you click the tire inflation. This side is the passenger side, so you just take a photo of the current measurement. This one's 35 exactly, so we didn't need to add anything. You may have to adjust your tablet settings to make sure it takes proper photos. So you make sure that the tire pressure gauge is visible and it shows you exactly how much tire pressure is on each side. This is what it was now. This one was 35 before and it is still 35, so this is perfect. And you do the first step, you take off the valve cover, you put on your tire gauge, and this one reached 35 exactly, 35 before and 35 current. Take a photo, make sure it's visible in the photo, the measurements and the tire. Cover on, and you have to repeat this step for all four tires. Once all four tires are measured with their tire pressure, you input all that information and then you continue into the next step, which is your tire depth. Now we continue with the final step, which is your tire depth. You take a photo of each one, starting with the driver's side. So we have an electronic tool. You can either use an electronic one or a manual one. They're both fine. This one shows 6.47, so we put in 6 millimeters. So we continue this step with all four tires. This is the passenger side on the front. This one is also about 6 millimeters. Now we move on to the back. Once all the steps are complete and you take all your measurements, you can pass everything and then you click submit. It moves on to the next step where you just do your signature and you continue. And it gives you your safety automatically. It sends it to our email. We can also email it to you. So this is basically your safety report. You don't need this. This is just for our records, so we can show everything that was done on your car, all the measurements that were taken. What you need, if you want to have a sheet, it's basically a separate sheet that shows that you were certified, and that also comes to your email if you want. We basically just input your email.
Yeah.
Or you could just check the system and it automatically inputs your VIN number as past safety. So you don't even need a safety sheet. For Uber, we print the sheet for you so you can take a photo and upload it. But if it's for the ministry, it's already in the system. If you want a paper sheet copy, we can print that for you too. It's not a problem.